think we're putting this out as episode 2. I think. Because we have a really special guest with us today who's here for the whole episode, which is really cool.
Yes. Yeah. Do you want to introduce our special guest? We might as well bring her in straight away.
Yeah, well, this special guest, we've talked about this special guest quite a lot.
We have, actually.
Because she sent me my first piece of fan mail, which I thought was the fucking coolest thing ever. I hadn't ordered anything from Amazon in this particular day. And this parcel came and opened it up and it was a set of razors. And I was like, razors? I never ordered razors. Oh my God, I was talking about this on the podcast.
Right, my brain's fully gone. Why were the razors?
Because I talked about never shaving my legs.
Right, okay.
And it was Hayley.
I do remember now.
It was me.
Hayley McBean.
Hi.
Hi, Hayley.
Hello.
So, to anyone who doesn't know who the famous Hayley is,
The famous Hayley. I like that.
Hayley is my niece by association. She's actually Trevor's niece, but I call her my niece, and she calls me her aunt. But we're kind of just like friends, really, aren't we? We're not.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty
And you
much.
have a very special, unique perspective that you're bringing to our podcast today, which is quite poignant. Poignant.
What is it?
What is it?
Sorry?
Oh, step away from the wine.
Prevalent for most
that
families. I think we want to talk about children with ASD or autistic spectrum disorder, isn't it? Am I right?
Autism spectrum disorder.
Yeah, I got it right.
Yeah.
Autism.
Autism.
Yeah, autism.
What did I say?
Autistic.
Oh, okay. Fuck's sake. Oh, I was
Close. So close.
I was really close.
We know what you
I'm
meant.
not the expert.
We knew what you meant. It's fine.
But yeah, I think we've all got a child in our children's classes who has got difficulties, or there's always someone in the class who's considered to be naughty, or it's something that a lot of people are aware of, but not aware of enough to not.
There's still a big isn't there?
Yeah, stigmatizing children who have got behavioural difficulties and not understanding why that might be.
Yes.
And for you, Hayley, like when you discovered that Ollie was autistic, how old was he?
So, he was 4.5 when we got his official diagnosis.
Is that quite young?
Yeah, it was. We were quite lucky. We had really good support. So he didn't speak. He was non-verbal, and went to speech and language therapy. And on the last session, I remember she said to me, she goes, "Is there anything else you maybe want to discuss with me before I let you go?" And I was like, "Well, actually," and I hadn't said this out loud to anybody because I thought I'd just be told to shut up. I quite often am. She's like, "Yeah, I think he might be autistic." And she was, "Yeah, I think you're right. I was going to discuss this with you had you not mentioned it." So she put the referral to the paediatricians, but she had said to me, if you keep a diary between now and that first appointment, essentially, you'll be a step of the game because they'll get you to keep a diary. Okay. So I think because we did that, we were a little bit quicker getting our diagnosis.
How long was the process? Because I know that now the process is very, very long for anything.
Gosh, I think we were 8-9 months.
It's still quite a long time.
Yeah. And that's quite fast, actually, to be fair, up here, because up in the Highlands, you wait a long time for anything.
Right.
And you're normally about 12 months before you're even seen for that first initial appointment. So, yeah, we were quite lucky, I feel. But yeah, he went through his I'm mixing my words. His ADHD diagnosis just recently, and that took a good year. But yeah,
I think it's 12 to 18 months would be the general kind of timescales that we'd be looking at. Like you said, it's rare you'd get seen within a year.
Yeah, no, we were really lucky, I feel. I think because we had that speech and language therapy side of it, it did speed it up, because with that they had to do his hearing tests and things like that, which is another part of the assessments. So having all that definitely did help, I feel, anyway.
It's still, I
Yeah.
say it's still a long time because it still is such a long time. Like, when you think it's quicker than the norm,
Yeah,
it's still such a long time to get.
it's a long process.
It was.
Yeah.
You were a single mum at the time as well, weren't you? And
Yep.
Ollie was your first child, and you were quite young, really, weren't you? And not having that kind of constant daily support of having family and friends. Did you have many friends around you at the time who had children?
Not particularly, no. I had one friend who had an older child, but not really anybody that had babies. So I was kind of solo. But you know, he was my first child, so I didn't know how to parent. So it came not naturally, but I just adapted parenting to him. So yeah, it's been fun.
You know what? It's totally off topic, and it's really probably inappropriate to say so, but you're outnumbered today because me and Hayley both have lovely Scottish accents. Nice on the podcast.
We can put, like, you can get subtitles. I can do like a transcript for those that can't understand.
I had to tell myself today to remember to speak slow.
Do you know what? I don't think I've ever had a problem with your accent though, Hayley. No. And you are actually definitely, what's the word, broader or
softer?
No, like I think she's got a harder accent than yours.
Well, yeah, but I have to enunciate so you can understand me.
When she comes back up the road, it's not. It's
no.
It's
I see that even like when your mum was there, you do get more Scott. But like,
Hayley, have you got your notifications on?
Yeah, are you hearing them?
Yes.
See, if I mute them, because I've got you on my laptop.
All right, just put it on service. Oh,
no, if you're on the laptop and you mute the notifications, you'll mute.
How am I going to do that? Oh, this is going to be interesting.
No, don't worry about it. It's fine. You could just reply and say, "Fuck off, I'm busy."
Yeah, I'm recording a podcast.
I'm just trying to think. It's people sending me. Facebook. I wonder if I can mute the messenger. I'll fiddle about. Use crack on.
Okay, cool. So, do you think that Hayley sounds like Trevor then?
Trev sounds harder. Still. I don't know if it's just Hayley's lilt. I don't know if it's just something in Hayley.
Or is it just a fresh voice?
No, I don't know.
Because I'm a legend.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it is just part of Hayley. It's just. I think it is. I think it is just a part of her that is just. Yeah, it's just another cool thing. It's just their voice. Just bum licking you now.
That's fine. It's been the first time in a while.
Take my head out your ass.
So I'm enjoying it.
I was going to take it down a totally different path there, and I'm not going to do that. Hayley did it. She started it.
You lot are bad.
You're looking at me bad.
Bad people.
I don't get a lot of adult conversation anymore, so I'm going all out tonight.
So what, in terms of like being a parent, I mean, I don't have any children who have got is it considered, what is ASD like? How do you is it behavioural problems? Is it?
There's so many answers to that question. It is a neurodevelopmental disorder.
Okay.
I can't quite remember what part of the brain that it's said to affect. I know ADHD is the frontal. Okay. But I didn't actually I was offered to do a course for autism, but I was like, nah, I've got this. I did not have it. But yeah, it's mostly, I feel, their senses and their understanding of things. So if you're to explain something to somebody who has autism, it would maybe take them that little bit longer to get it. And I'm talking a few seconds. Like, they could sit and think about it for days. Like if you speak to Ollie, he quite often just doesn't even reply to you, but he's not being rude. He's just processing.
Yeah.
So he's not ignoring you. And then you've obviously got the heightened senses, where everything is just wow.
So how would you
crazy.
How do you think we should be encouraging our children to be more inclusive and more understanding of kids who have got these kind of sensitivities or difficulties?
That's good words to use, actually. I'm not good with words.
Apparently earlier.
I definitely think that it should be educated in school that, you know, there are other people out there, not necessarily just children, but other people out there that live with this, you know. I don't like to say suffer because it's not a suffering. It's not an illness. It's not an illness. It's, you know, it's just them.
Yeah.
How would you? Sorry to interrupt, Hayley. If we were framing it in saying like a learning need, additional needs, when it is, how would you sort of umbrella it? If we were to say like in a classroom, if you're differentiating, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I would say, it's so hard to pick the right word because you don't want to single those people out and essentially put a target on their back for the meaner kids. But like it's a disorder, isn't it? It's not an illness; it's a disorder.
Yeah. It's a different way of understanding, isn't it? The brain processes information in a slightly different. It doesn't take the route as in the crow flies. It takes the B road detour.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's not. When I explain it to children, as well, I guess it's younger children I've explained it to, but I've explained it to them that they've got a special brain, that all brains have got wires, and children or people that have autism, their wires are just that little bit more different.
I like that. I think that's a really nice, and a really truthful as well, really. That's effectively what it is.
I did a speech once on it.
Now he did such a good speech.
Do you have it to hand?
It's on my Facebook.
Okay. Well, what to do? If you send us a link to that, I can put it in the show notes because it was so fucking cool. Like Ollie, he is growing up. Not that he wasn't when he was younger, but he is growing up to be the most coolest individual that you'll ever meet. He's so fucking.
Oh my gosh, he stayed at your sister's the other night, Claire.
Oh, did he?
I went to pick him up and I looked through the window. I was like, why is his hair blue? Because he found the hair chalks and he was like, he put it in his hair, or Alice did his hair. He looked in the mirror and he goes, oh my God, I look amazing.
Oh, nice.
He has been wanting blue hair for a while. But yeah, I wish I could have seen that.
And it's the funniest little things that just bring his face into focus. Like he illuminates the most simplest of things sometimes. You know, I remember we were having a barbecue again at my sister's and we were toasting marshmallows. Now my sister has a little bit of decking out the side of her house where the fire pit was, where we were all. Now, me being a really fucking intelligent
pyromaniac,
total pyromaniac, having the biggest bonfire ever, thinking let's toast some marshmallows, and I'm going to be really smart, really clever, and not drop the dripping marshmallow onto the decking. I'm going to catch it in my hand. Molten lava, molten pink lava. Well, I then proceeded to shout and scream, and go, ay! And Ollie, to this day, still he keeps it. And in fact, I wrote about this in my most recent book. There we go, get it in there. I don't know why I have to say that every time, but Ollie did. He talks about his memory box. He puts things in his memory box and he pulls them out when he needs them. When he needs to be cheered up, like if something's triggered him, upset him, if someone's pissed him off, you can say to Ollie, pull something out your memory box and come on, let's laugh about it. And you know, when I do that to him, he pulls out that marshmallow thing, and it's just
it was years ago, and to this day he'll still sit in the back of the car and he'll all of a sudden start laughing. I'm like, what? And he'll just go, ay. All right, okay, we're still on that then.
Nice.
But yeah, he's cool.
But he just when he explains things, it's just cool. Like I don't know, I find it very difficult to articulate it because he's got a different way of seeing the world, and I find it very unique.
I would love to live in his head for a day. I don't
Yeah.
even think I need a day, just an hour.
Yeah.
His head is very busy. That's one way I also put it is I feel people, I keep saying children, people with autism have a very busy head. There's lots going on in there, but when you sit down and you have a conversation with Ollie, it's just so fascinating, and you do see the world in a different light.
I think like from working in secondary school before and working with like young people that had ASD, and it is that they just see things in such a different light, and if you give them the time, like you said, to process it and to explain that back, it's amazing to sit and listen to, and it's things that you wouldn't necessarily have thought about because we have such blanket biased ways of thinking that we just have such automatic responses, whereas a lot of the young people with ASD, it's like, no, this is, I'm going to give you a
this is how it is.
better response to this, and it's like, oh, all right then, fair play.
Yeah,
Didn't think about it that way, and that's amazing. That should be celebrated, shouldn't it? Not stigmatized.
100%.
Absolutely, definitely. I mean, what would you think is like one of your biggest challenges as a parent of a child with ASD, Hayley?
Personal experience. Obviously, everybody's going to have different challenges, but our biggest challenge is social skills. He really, really struggles with social skills. So at school, he's always just wanted one friend, and if that friend then speaks or plays with another child, he gets upset and he thinks that friend doesn't like him, and he doesn't know how to then integrate into that group play. And I sometimes think that's maybe on me because I didn't take him to like baby group, and like I said before, I didn't have many friends that had children. But we are working on it, so we have got that side of it. But then we've now got this new thing, where now if you know Ollie, you know he's the most loving boy in the world. But he is starting to have a bit of anger and a bit of frustration, which is coming out in not so nice ways. So we've got there's been a little bit of violence where he has pushed me and he has hit me twice, but just so out of character, so out of character. But it's not him doing it purposely, it's him just, he's frustrated, he's got that anxiety built up and he doesn't know how to let it go. And it's not necessarily anything that's happened at home. It could be something that's happened at school, and he comes home, he bottles it all up, and just explodes. When I was doing my course for the ADHD, they were saying that it's like if you were to shake a cola bottle all day, just shake and shake and shake and shake and shake. Then you got home and you took the lid off. It just erupts, and that's definitely happening with him at the moment. Which comes hand in hand with the social skills because he's in a new school. We've just moved, so he's just moved to this new school and he's finding building friendships quite difficult. So he's coming home, and that's, at the moment, that's our biggest issues. But, we're working towards them. I've got good support. I've spoke to the school. We've got a child plan in place. We're really lucky that he is going to be working with a counsellor after the school holidays.
Okay. What year is Ollie in?
Oh, I don't know.
What school? You've got...
Ollie would be in year
4.
five.
Fucked up.
He's in primary 6.
Yeah, so he's going into primary 6 after the summer, yeah.
Right, okay, so which is our year 6? In
It's
September.
the last... Ollie's starting his last year of primary school after the summer holidays.
No,
right, okay.
No, he's P6, so he'll be P7 next year.
So he'll start effectively our secondary school?
No.
Oh, God.
So he's got 2 years left of primary.
What year was he born?
He was born in 2011, but because we were going through the diagnosis in nursery, he repeated a year.
Yes, that's right. That's why, because I always go Freya's year 4, Ollie's year 5, Aiden's year, but it's not.
So Ollie will be in Freya's year.
And that is what in Scotland? He's currently primary 6, which is our year 4.
He's currently primary 5.
No, she just said he's currently primary 6.
He's going
into primary 7.
He's going into primary 6 after the summer.
They're on holidays at the moment. They started their summer holidays.
Oh, okay.
So you're talking future. You're talking into, because they're not in school anymore.
Right. Okay. So
sorry.
That is. So primary 6 is our year 5.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Right,
Ollie and
okay.
Freya are in the same year at school.
But he would effectively, sorry, I'm just getting my head around this, but he
No,
would
it's okay.
effectively be our
Doing
year
it.
6
Yes,
next year, but
age-wise.
because of, right,
Yeah.
okay, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Just my brain couldn't
Got
cope.
there in the end.
It was just, I was trying to figure out more why I was even asking, was because thinking about secondary school and what
Yeah.
when there are plans, how the plan is working for secondary school and what
Oh
happens. Obviously,
gosh.
it's a whole different beast.
I
like
have got
secondary.
so much anxiety about secondary
Mhm.
school. With the new school he's in now, he's actually going to be going to the secondary school that I was in. So I feel I've got a bit of an advantage and I can help him
Okay.
understand the lay of the land. Because I
Yeah.
don't imagine it's changed that much. So I feel that's a little bit of an advantage. But I've talked to the teacher. So the teacher he's getting after the school holidays would be his teacher until he goes to the secondary school, and they do a lot of work and a lot of trying to think what the word is, not integration, god, what's the word?
Preparation?
Aye, we'll go with that. It's 9 o'clock, I've got a new baby. Well, I've got a new baby, I've got a 1-year-old almost. Yeah, so I'm just so, I don't feel he's going to be ready, but it is 2 years away. Just sociably, and he's mature. He is as mature as a 10-year-old gets. You say boobies and he laughs, but he's still mentally, I feel, got the mental capacity of a 7-year-old when it comes to things. So although he's 10, he's maybe seen the world as a 7-year-old world would, and maybe behave like that in some aspects, which is quite difficult to explain to people who don't quite understand as well.
Yeah.
Would you ever not keep him in mainstream school? Is that something you've discussed, or is that like, because it's obviously such a personal choice for people?
There is a school up here for children with additional needs, but it's very difficult to get them in. It's not got a very high capacity, I don't think.
No, I don't think you can do, which is
but
why
I think
so
with
great.
the right support, he'll be able to do mainstream school. He's academically, he's amazing. He's doing the year above his work level.
Okay, that's brilliant.
He's so clever. I actually remember Aidan, Claire. He's were down. This is when you stayed at mine for Christmas, and he got something technology-wise, some Nintendo thing, and it had words in it, and he needed Aidan to help read the words. And Aidan said to me, "Why did you get him a toy he can't read?" Oh, I don't know, Aidan. But then 3 months later, he could read every single word. I was like, oh, okay, you picked that up fast. Academically, he's outstanding, and as all children with autism, I feel they deserve an education, and it's up to us and the teachers and whoever they've got in their support network to support them and guide them through that. I don't like it when people say, "Oh, you're autistic, you won't do much in life." That's not true at all,
No, and I think there's a long history of my brain's tired. I can't think of lots of people now, but there are lots of people that have done, like, if you named a lot of celebrities and real genius people, they probably. I bet Albert Einstein had ASD. It wouldn't surprise me.
He had autism. Well, it's been discussed. They call it armchair physicians, where they look at their behaviors and they say, "Yeah, he shows characteristics of autism." But him, Isaac Newton, Bill Gates.
It is. It's that different way of thinking, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, definitely.
Well, you got there's a local boy from up here, from Invergordon. He just won World's Strongest Man. He's got autism. Well, not got autism. He is autistic.
Right,
don't like
just picking up on that. Yeah. So what is the, like, for saying that? So what's the difference?
Yeah.
So
I feel I'm not
clarify for me again. What was the right phrase?
See, I get confused. I'm not proper. That's not how you say it. But I know some mums or dads are a bit, but they have autism.
They are not autism.
They are not autism. They have autism. God. I'm tired. We've had sun up here in Scotland today. I'm probably sunstroke. It doesn't happen often. But when you say they... Oh
It's
my
not who
gosh.
they are, it's what they've acquired.
Yes, Claire, thank you.
Okay.
Makes sense though, doesn't it? Because then it's not it isn't who you are. It is just that extra characteristic.
So Ollie is not autistic. He has autism.
Yes, no, that is the... I feel that's the more acceptable way. But for me, that's never really bothered me up until it got highlighted, I think, last year, and I was like, okay. I see your train of thought.
I think that makes sense. I think that sounds to say you're autistic. It's sort of that sounds like you're putting them in a special
stereotype,
negative camp. You know what I mean? Whereas to say you have autism, it's just to say, well, and it's like, I suppose, to minimalise it, kind of like dyslexia. If you was to say someone has dyslexia, you're not saying you're dyslexic. Or do
it's
you?
something you have.
Well, there's another thing. Actually, you do. Like, because Aidan's dyslexic, although we haven't had a diagnosis for him. I would generally say he's dyslexic rather than say he's got dyslexia.
Yeah,
you should say, shouldn't you? You have dyslexia because it is something that you've got.
Yeah,
you are not.
You're right. You're right.
What it is, it's confusing.
But we're a very butterfly society, aren't we? Like we.
Nowadays we absolutely are.
By things, if you say the wrong thing, and it could really, really offend somebody, and I'd like to if somebody does stumble and says it in the wrong jumble up of words. It's not meant to offend, it's just a misunderstanding.
See, that's one of the things that it doesn't offend me as much. It doesn't offend me, I'm just more aware of it, that it does offend other people. And of course I'm in this, I'm not in this community, but there is a community of autism parents that I'm on Facebook with the support groups and whatnot, that I do feel I have to choose my words wisely, because it's like teaching Ollie about, he says, "Oh my God," in the house. I don't mind if he says that in my house, because that doesn't offend me, but don't say it outside of the house, because you may offend somebody else. So it's kind of like that when I'm speaking to these other people, and I try and make other people aware that you may offend somebody, but there are a lot more offensive things that you can say with regards to somebody that has autism, such as like, "Oh, well, you don't look autistic." Never say that to somebody ever. Well, that used to get me all the time. But he doesn't look autistic. He doesn't act autistic. And I'm like, well, what does it look like?
Do you think when I think of that, I think of like a media thing, and I think my immediate reaction sort of goes like to Rain Man, the film, and that was sort of the big presentation of that is someone with autism.
Oh, I've not seen Rain Man.
Oh, have you not? Oh,
no.
It's a really good film, to be fair. It's Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman, possibly, and he, to my knowledge, and it may be something else, but I'm pretty sure from the perception of what has been spread about it was that Dustin Hoffman had ASD, and he was very, very intelligent, and they went to like casinos and he won them loads of money. There's a whole film about it, but that's for me the kind of image that is portrayed and shown, that he was very much no emotion, that spoke very rigid, and actually there will be young people that speak in that way and have those characteristics, but also there'll be young people that don't speak like that and don't have those characteristics. So to put it in one jar and say
I think as a society, though, we like to, when somebody is not exactly the same as us, we like to know, well,
why?
Which box are you going in then? Because you're not the same one as me, and I need to label that box so that I can understand. And I don't think, it's difficult to say, because when I think of that, I think of in terms of racism. Well, if you're from this race, but you look that way, but you sound a different way, why does it matter? Why does it matter? But it helps us to understand why somebody might be different, because it's human nature to identify when somebody's different. Now, I was just thinking while you were talking there, and I wrote it down. There was this program, I can't remember if it was you that told me you watched it, Hayley. It's on Netflix. It's called Atypical. Now, that is something that's considered...
I don't think I've watched that.
Oh, I don't think I've watched that.
Oh, Christ almighty. I'm not here.
Do we not watch any of the same things? Fuck's sake.
Maybe I did. I don't know.
I think is he like a junior doctor or something who has ASD?
The Good Doctor?
No, not The Good Doctor. Right. I would use
definitely
my phone,
not watch that.
Get your Netflix.
The Good Doctor is very good, but I would also, have you watched The Good Doctor, Hayley?
No.
Oh, see, because
I watch rubbish stuff.
It would be really interesting, though, to hear from a parent or someone that has autism I'd like to hear a critique from them, because the doctor in The Good Doctor has autism, and it's about how he is just an amazing surgeon and everything else.
Yeah.
But I'd be really interested to see from someone with lived experience their point of view on it, because I think that's always really important. I'd hope
give that a watch.
they wouldn't have made it and not have got people's lived experience and got people's feedback on it, because that would be...
No, I'll definitely give that a watch.
That atypical.
Yeah, hold on. Turn it up the right way. Is he... Yeah, that's it. The boy there has... he has...
I've never heard of this program before in my life.
Oh, that's really weird, because I'm pretty convinced I've had the conversation with at least one of you, but neither of you recall it, and I don't know what the conversation was. So
definitely not.
Let's just scrap that then, shall we?
Yeah. But I think it is. I think it's just looking at our perception and what we're shown, and I think with anything that's going to then feed into our bias and
representation.
Yeah, it is, and it's
it annoys me as well. What also offends is when people are like, "Oh, people are so fast to put a label on things these days. Everyone's autistic." It's like, well, no, it's just there's a lot more education and awareness. You know, I'm a dental nurse, and I have had so many patients that have walked through the door, and I'm thinking, you know, you could have had a diagnosis.
Yeah.
But they haven't. And some people are quick to say, they're like, yeah, you know, I think I didn't get diagnosed as a child. I definitely should have. But yeah, it's...
What for you were the benefits? Because I suppose that is a choice that some people make the choice that are maybe aware that they might have an additional need but don't want to get it diagnosed. What would you say are the benefits for you?
The benefits,
having the diagnosis.
Gosh, it was, for me, it was learning how to parent, because for that first 4 years I was looking at him and I'm thinking, right, are you struggling to understand what's going on? Are you struggling to understand this world and whatnot? Or are you just a naughty child? You know, that's what it came down to. And it sounds horrible to say that, but it was that fine line. I was like, right, what side am I, where am I going with this? How do I parent you?
And I remember you saying to me once that the one thing about Ollie, and I hadn't actually noticed it, was that he didn't smile.
No, he didn't.
He didn't smile when he was really little. Until what age, Hayley?
Golly gosh. Probably maybe P1.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, if you look back on photos of him, he's not smiling.
Right, okay.
And if you look at photos of him,
I'm gonna amplify that little laugh from Trey with that little snigger in the background.
Right. Help the English person out, please. I'm a bit confused. Okay, so reception is age 4?
Yeah, age 4.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was, and that was one of the telltale signs for me as well. So when he was a baby, he didn't smile and he didn't make his eye contact. I remember not meeting those milestones, and I'm thinking, are you okay, hon? And he just didn't have it, and he wouldn't laugh unless you tickled him. You know, where Peekaboo wasn't funny, where Marcy just actually falls down laughing. And I'm like, oh, right, okay. So yeah, he just didn't. And if you look at photos of him now, you can tell what a natural smile is if I've managed to capture it, and what maybe is when I've said, right, cheese, say smile, and he it's like he tucks his top lip in, and you can really see his front teeth.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah. Totally. That's not a natural one. That's me basically have said, right, let me take your photo and I'll give you a $5.
Bribery.
I just have hardly any photos of him just now. It's all just baby. And I'm like, oh, I've got none of Ollie. Let me take your photo. But he's at that age now where he's like, Mom, go away.
Yeah. It doesn't change. It gets worse.
Oh, don't.
Pin him down.
Oh, dear.
So what can we do to help educate our kids and help them make them understand more, so that they're not coming home and saying, like, especially when you're hearing the repeated names all the time, and when you sit down and you ask them, so what is it that so and so did today, and you start to build a picture of this child and you think, actually, they're not being naughty. There's an issue here that's not being
Yeah.
naughty.
See, Ollie's come home and he's had the exact same conversation with me. He's like, Mum, this person's not been nice. They've been disruptive. And I've said, right, well, have you thought about things? Have you thought maybe that they might be struggling, or if you thought maybe that they also have autism? And there's this one particular person, that he has had interactions with, but they have not had a positive experience from. And I know this boy does have a diagnosis, but Ollie just can't see it. And I just have to try and not enforce, but kind of reiterate that, you're not the only person in the world that has this. There are other children out there. You just have to be patient and you have to be kind. If you don't understand why somebody's acting like that, then ask them, or ask a teacher, ask a friend, but don't just assume that person is a naughty brat. And being mean. I said, if they're being really mean and, their actions become dangerous or they become threatening and they really, really upset you, absolutely tell a teacher, tell me, discuss it. But just think why, But we have that education in our house about autism, but other households, I guess, won't necessarily have that. But I do think it is important for parents to, I think we're living in a world right now where the be kind thing has been thrown about. So I think we need to really get that ingrained in our kids. Be kind, and with that, be patient and be aware that some children do have these difficulties. But it's so hard to try and not single them out and, like I said, put a target on their back. Say, oh, you're different, so I'm going to bully you. But that's where the backup of be kind comes into it.
And it's in my view, it's doing it really young and just in the whole spectrum of everyone, of not just ASD, but obviously thinking about like race, LGBTQ, like everything. Those kind of things should be introduced to children so young, and seeing this is the world we live in. Diversity should be celebrated. It shouldn't be something that's just left and ignored, and then, oh my God, that person's different, and that's not normal. When actually,
absolutely
it's normal. And if that was explained to children, that you've got one kid that might have ASD, you've got a black kid, you've got a gay kid, that to them, it will become normal if it's ingrained in a young age. It's when you don't have those conversations, you don't celebrate that.
Well, I remember Ollie coming home to me one day, and there was a little boy in his class. And forgive me, Tanya, I don't know the. I'll put my hands up. I don't know the correct term, but he said, "Why has that child got brown skin?" And I was like, "Well, why have you got blonde hair?" Because I was born with blonde hair. And I was like, right, well, that person was born with coloured skin. Oh, okay, cool. And that was it. That was his acceptance. And I just think we need to teach children.
It would be black skin if you were going to say it.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's just because he said brown.
No, I mean coloured.
All right, okay, I thought.
But no, that's not, and it is, but that's the thing. It's not. It's just language, and we all say different language. I did a course today and looking at the different language that we use and coming down to the right terms. And if you don't ask and you don't know and you don't get help,
absolutely,
then you don't know. But essentially, for me, again, and sort of like with what you were saying with the I am and I, or they have, it's more about having that conversation and that knowing that we might make silly language mistakes, but actually the message there is explaining that we're different. And you, like you said, you're born with blonde hair, he's born with brown skin.
Exactly. And I remember he was going to school one day and he goes, oh, I'm going to go play with, I can't remember what the kid's name was now. And I was like, oh, I haven't heard of that kid. I remember I was saying about the social skills, he doesn't really have them. Like, who's that kid? And he goes, oh, the one with the blue school bag. I looked over and it was the little boy he was talking about in nursery, and it just filled me with joy that he didn't point out the difference in skin colour. It was, the school bag, and that I felt really proud. But so that's my boy. But I just, I wish it was that simple when it came to ASD, where it was educated. But I just,
do they do anything?
No,
in schools, because I
not
can't
I'm aware of
ever.
Do you know what? It just popped into my head there as we were talking. I was thinking, I mean, this might be more suited to smaller schools like the one that Ollie's in, but how cool would it be if it had every school had a "I am different because" day? Just like once every 6 months or something, and celebrate. I'm different because I pick my nose, or I'm different because I've got curly hair. No.
Why? Because if they're different for picking their nose, they're nasty. It's nasty. That's not.
You ain't holding that kid's hand.
No, like that's no.
Right,
we're not celebrating that.
We can give Ollie a day where he celebrates, and it's not just Ollie's day; it's every day. So he's not saying I'm different because I have autism.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm different. I've got autism, but so and so's different because her uncle came from Kenya.
Yeah.
Like, how fucking cool would it be to talk about these things and encourage these differences?
That's a really nice idea.
That is good. Although Ollie likes to celebrate being autistic every day.
Yeah, I think that would be a really nice thing for the school to do. And I don't think, and I'm not just knocking that school because my kids ain't there anymore, but they don't do enough to celebrate diversity.
Yeah.
There's not enough going on up there. So if they were to do that, and that would include, that, like I said, that could include everyone. Because everyone would have something that's unique and special about them. And
it would encourage them to talk about the things that they're maybe... Oh, I don't want to be the same as somebody who say, oh, I've got blonde hair. I want to talk about, like, I'm really good at writing with my left hand when I'm actually right-handed. Like, just what makes you, what are you really good at? What are you different about?
It would make them think more, wouldn't it? And not take everything on face value. Yeah. It would think about, I like that. Write to them. Do it now.
Yeah. Okay.
No, that is a good idea. I might have to...
No, I do.
Trev would have a list.
Yeah.
Oh, love you. Oh dear. I can't hear him.
No, neither can we. He's mumbling. He's had a couple of beers.
Bedtime. Yeah. But no, Ollie, he likes, if he's struggling with something, I find it really good because if he's struggling, he will tell me now. He's like, Mum, I'm autistic. And that's him saying, I don't understand. I'm like, all right, okay, sorry. But a really important thing I found is when you're explaining something to somebody who has autism, use the same words, don't use different words.
Okay.
So if I was to say, God, can you go pick up that tea towel for me?
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to use that words again. Oh, can you please go grab me the cloth that's on the floor? Because that's him having to process two different sentences.
Okay.
But if you're saying that the same words, or as much as the same words as possible, he's got less to process, so he understands it quicker. So I find that's quite an important lesson to take on board. I don't think we got onto that topic. I just decided to chat.
No, you actually talked again there because I was going to ask you, like, what tips have you got for? Because I mean, more and more people are having that diagnosis now, aren't they?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Not because more people have got it, it's because we're more comfortable with talking about it's a bit of education around it. So what kind of things can we be aware of that would make children or even adults who are now discovering that they've had a diagnosis of ASD later in life, what can we do to make their day that little bit easier?
Well, it depends. Like, as we've got to have quite a structured day or a structured week. It doesn't need to be as structured as possible. So we used to have 3 different calendars, 1 in his room and 2 in the kitchen. It would have everything from what we were doing that day to what we were eating to what time he was doing this, that, and things. Now it's not so much that. He does cope with it better. But like I said, using your words wisely. And remember, they like Ollie and others with this can be very, very literal. If I say to Ollie now, go clap the dog, he'll go up and clap his hands together. I'm like, Ollie,
that's a Scottish thing. Stroke.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
I was just thinking, saying that. No.
I never know what's Scottish and what's an English thing.
The dog.
Clap the dog.
Smack it.
No.
If you said go and clap the dog, because a clap in kind of like Caribbean, if I said go, I'm going to clap it, I'm going to hit it.
Okay.
Oh,
so
no.
If you said clap the dog, I'm thinking I'm going to go and hit the dog.
Oh, no. So clap, it's like when you clap your hands together normally, but obviously everyone knows that. But go stroke the dog, it's go clap the dog, and he'll go and he'll clap, give the dog a round of applause.
Tonight, Hayley.
You need to come to Scotland for a week. I'll get you on the door.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I remember one time we were in the car, we were coming back, we liked to go on little adventures, or we did. We used to go on our adventures all the time, and we were coming back, and he says, "Oh, Mum, I really need to go to the toilet." And I was like, "Oh, well, we're nearly home." He goes, "But Mum, it's a number 2." I was like, "Oh, just squeeze your cheeks together." And like just trying to be funny, and he grabbed his facial cheeks and he pushed them together, and he's like, "But why?" It's like, no.
Why? Yeah, that's not helping, Mum.
Oh, or come and give me a hand in the kitchen, and he'll come and hold his hand out.
No.
Like, oh no, darling.
See, do you know what, Hayley? It's amazing because it is just that extra thought for you. And I've got to give you props as a parent, and anyone else that's listening that's got young people with ASD or any other kind of additional need that have to put in that extra bit of work. Because I think like I moan about my fucking kids all the time, but I don't have to. The thought process is such a different thought process for me as a parent that I don't have to have that extra thought about it in that way.
Yeah.
And I just think listening to you is amazing to hear the extra things you put in place to make them happy, which is ultimately what we all want.
Thank you.
Our kids to be happy. So,
Thank you. I see. When people say that, that's been said to me a few times, but because he's my first child, I don't know any different. So I feel I'm going to maybe struggle with Marcy. I'm going to bring her up on like the strictest routine ever, and I'm going to be like, "Why?" Like military mom. Poor girl. But yeah, like I don't know any different. It's not until I sit down and have a conversation with somebody who's got an atypical child. That's another thing, we like to say atypical, not normal. Because what is normal? Certainly not me. But I'm like, oh, okay, your house actually seems a bit more chill. But yeah,
just a last point. I know we're running out of time, but just you sort of mentioned it then anyway. But how has Ollie coped like during COVID? Because
he's not
been so out of routine and out.
Yeah, no,
anything.
The first lockdown, he hates school, so he was absolutely buzzing that he didn't have to go to school.
Yeah.
He was the happiest boy on the planet. And I took away the screen restrictions. I was like, you know what, go have it. I want you to be as comfortable as possible. But in that came the hard, and I'm still suffering from it, is getting him out of it. So going back into normal life is a lot more difficult than what I would have liked it to be, and we are struggling with that. But we're working through it.
During lockdown as well, didn't it? Lockdown.
Well,
yes. Let's go with that.
In lockdown, well, he had quite a few changes. I was pregnant. We had Marcy. We moved house. We moved village. We moved school. There was a lot of changes for him, and it has had a detrimental effect on him. But we're coming out of it. I feel we'll get there.
It sounds like the school are being really proactive in providing support and are aware of his additional needs.
Yeah. I have had to have a few words with them. I feel like they've not got the real side of Ollie because they've got a very anxious side of him. So I was maybe feeling like their patience wasn't really there, that their understanding wasn't really there. But I was like, no. So I had a chat with them, and we did their child plan, and I met his new teacher and stuff. And we have had a good talk and put actions into place for after the holidays. So yeah, I'm hoping that works.
Good. And I think to have a school that's going to, like you said, not judge and actually just work with you. Support that's brilliant. That's all you can ask for, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's got so much to give, Ollie, as well. Like, he's such a loving child. Like, you'll never meet, well, you maybe will, but he's just
you won't.
He's such a devoted friend, and he's such a kind-hearted boy. Like, he's really fun to be around. He's a lovely kid.
He's hilarious.
He is.
But this week he's so with another thing with autism is people think it can be medicated, and it can't. It's not something that can be I don't like using the word, but treated, because it's not. It's like not an illness, as I said before. However, he does get help with his sleep. So we all produce the chemical melatonin.
Mhm.
It's a natural thing that we produce in order for us to feel sleepy and to go to sleep. But he does not produce that, and it's quite typical in people with autism that don't.
Mhm.
They can't fall asleep. They can stay asleep, but they just can't
Yeah.
switch off. Their brain just does not
Okay.
want to do it. So he gets a synthetic dose of melatonin at night, and this week we are trialing a week off of it to see
Oh.
if his body has managed to naturally
You don't want anyone
click
to
it in.
sleep, Hayley.
That is some horrors.
No one's sleeping in Hayley's house.
They actually don't. I want to take the melatonin.
How has it gone though? Seriously, with him, how is
We
is
are.
it?
This is night 3, and they said it should take about 5 nights, and then we'll know whether he produces it naturally now or not. But he is going to bed or falling asleep midnight, 1 o'clock again. It's not going well, but we'll give it the week, see how it goes. I just give him a long lie in the morning. We've got plans, but they're loose plans.
And does Ollie know that you're trialing this? Because I'm always very much like the kind of placebo effect. If you're aware of it, are you actually talking yourself, oh, I haven't had my medication?
Yeah.
Because we gave Connor a spoonful of golden syrup instead of apple tonight.
Because the face before you said that as well, I knew you were going to say something that you really shouldn't.
Because we didn't have any medicine, and he'd scraped his little willy on we got an enamel bath, and I think he'd been trying to swim, and he scraped. Funnily enough, I did the same thing to my tailbone when I washed my hair.
To your willy.
No. I was washing my hair in the bath the other day, and I really scraped the bottom of my back, and Connor's done it to his little willy.
Bless him.
And his balls.
Golden syrup. Did the golden syrup make him feel better?
Well, I did ask him before he went to bed, and he said no. And I thought, fuck. Maybe it is not actually just in his head.
Yeah, have some whiskey.
Some Buckfast will see you right.
Yeah, honestly.
Spoonful of Buckfast. Ugh.
No one wants
but
that.
No, he does have an understanding, but I don't think he. What's Trevor doing? Tell him to shut up.
His hand up for some Buckfast.
No. But yeah, I don't think he thinks about it too much.
Okay.
I think he sees it as a time just to read. He loves to read. So we have to do a wee bit of sleep hygiene where everything goes off and he's got to read and sort of mellow out for half an hour. But yeah. So
I like that, sleep hygiene.
That's not a phrase I don't think I'd ever heard before.
Sleep hygiene. It's a good thing. So it's like dim lights, all loud noises off, no screens, reading, just that chill zone.
Which is what, just like I said, that is a phrase.
Because you think of like bedtime routine, you think there are young children have a bedtime routine, like bath, story, bed, but sleep hygiene.
There's loads of stuff on it, Hayley, on the internet.
There you go.
Internet.
Yeah. Do you know, I was only having a conversation with someone at work yesterday or the day before. It was like, what other stuff can I recommend around sleep?
There you go.
Sleep
there you go.
Brilliant.
Yeah, thanks, Hay.
Oh, you're welcome.
What other stories have you got for us, Hayley, before we skedaddle?
What other stories? Sorry.
No, snippets. Like
snippets.
What snippets of advice have you got for us?
I can't think off the top of my head. Just be patient.
Absolute wealth.
Yeah.
Like a real.
I know. I'm just milking it now.
Another thing, actually, sorry, is I've not spoken to you in a while. It's nice to hear your voices. I think, well, when it comes to with girls, they are really good at masking, so it can be quite difficult to have girls diagnosed.
So they present very differently.
It's called masking, and they are experts at it. So it's very difficult. I feel for girls and these young girls growing up, because they don't act out as much. They hide it in.
I remember I worked with a young girl in secondary, and you wouldn't have, if I hadn't have been told that she had a diagnosis, especially within the group of young people. So it was an ASD class, and they all had ASD, and the boys had pretty similar characteristics. And I was like, I couldn't figure out initially why she was there. there was a very different presentation.
Mm-hmm.
And then once they sort of said it, and I was like, do you know what, you can, it's, and once she relaxed and was herself, you could, like you said, it was, she was masking behaviours, but it was a completely different to the boys, which I'd never known that was.
I think there's so much, we could talk about this topic for hours, and I totally think we should get you back in to do some more on this, Hayley, because as we're talking, like, all these questions keep popping up into my head, and I think, I'll ask that, I'll ask that. So
does it make you see Ollie in a different light? Me talking when we chat, do you understand him a little bit more?
I do. I definitely do. But do you know what I really miss is actually seeing you and being around. Like, I feel like I've missed out a lot with Ollie, because you had all, like, we were living down here.
Yeah.
When we had Ollie, so we've never been close with Ollie growing up. We've had that year, that annual kind of visit, and Hayley's always come down here, like, apart from the last couple of years. But we've always had a lot of visits. But in the early years, before, like, when the kids were really little, in fact, I tell you, the biggest story to represent this would be when Trevor had his accident. Hayley, the day Trevor had his accident, Hayley was coming down for her summer holiday with Ollie.
Hi, cheers, Trev.
This fuck you. Now it will be 8 years ago, so Ollie would have been 2.
Yeah.
Aidan was 3, Freya was 1. So the kids were really, really little. Now Aidan and Freya they knew Ollie, but Ollie he had challenges. Every child has their challenges, but we didn't understand what Ollie's difficulties were at the time. So I remember the couple of times that I came back, because I didn't even see Hayley. I phoned her from the train. I said that Trevor's had an accident. I'm going to the hospital. Just come and look after the kids. But so it was in the middle of summer, and the kids were arguing because the 3 of them, they're all so close in age, but they didn't understand each other, and they didn't have that level of communication, because Ollie was only 2. Freya wasn't even talking. I don't know if Aidan was talking at 3. Probably should have been.
And Ollie wasn't talking either. Yeah,
so there was a lot of arguing, and Hayley was trying to manage that herself, and it was causing disruption. Do you remember, like, next door, like, I remember you telling me that they were shouting over the hedge saying, "Oh, shut the fuck up," and all that. Yeah, they were piss heads though, weren't they? Remember?
Oh yeah, that's the kind word for it. We're being kind tonight.
Yeah, and so having those difficulties and that distance growing up didn't help with the bonding for the children. And for me as well, like, I struggled to bond with Ollie until I think when he started going to school, and it would have been around about his diagnosis when we began to understand why he might not look me in the eye, or he might not be smiling at me. Like, why is he not running up to me and saying, "Oh, hi, Auntie Claire"? Yeah. So, but when I spend time with Ollie now, he's just such a warm boy, and I find his stories hilarious. And, like, he does this thing when he used to him, and I haven't seen him since last summer. Yeah, he talks to the ground, and then he gives it the side eye to make sure you're still there and you're listening to his story. And he carries on his little story, and he kind of gives you another wee side eye, making sure you're still looking. And it's just like, when I think of Ollie now, it's like this animation that plays out in my mind as you're telling the stories. Like, I can, because he's so animated in his person, that you can just picture it so clearly. Yeah. When Hayley was saying about Ollie doing these things, it's lovely, and it's really unique, because I've not experienced it before. We had a family who lived quite close by when I was little, and all of the children, they had 5 children, and every single one of them was on the spectrum. Okay. And I'm really quite, I don't think, there was the eldest one, I think she was the least kind of severe. She went to our school, and all the other children went to, I can't remember what school they went to now, but it was a very, very, very challenging household. So whenever my mum and dad weren't particularly aware of, and a lot of families were, I mean, we grew up in a really rural area, so if you weren't normal, if you didn't fit into the normal box, then you were cast aside, and it was, that kid's just problematic. So my awareness of ASD from a young age was that, well, these kids are really, really challenging. They're really difficult, because unfortunately this family, their kids were, I mean, I don't know how they coped. I really don't know how they coped. They had 4 children very close together. There was only a year or 2 between them all. And
that would be challenging in itself without having.
Fucking hell, man! It was intense. There was a couple of times that we did visit the house, and it was actually quite frightening, because I wasn't used to it, and these kids were running around like screaming, like some of them were running around in circles, and it was just it was nutty. So I was quite frightened of it. I can't remember when they moved to the area, so I was maybe tweeny age. So yeah, Ollie's my first like real love for a child with ASD, and really beginning to understand it and his uniqueness. And he's a cool character.
Yeah, he is. He's amazing. And I know everyone's proud of their kids, but I really am proud of him. You know, he's
a dude.
Oh, he's just so lovely.
I'm excited to see what he does. Like, I think he's going to have some real, very creative future, because he's got a very, very, very.
He wants to be he absolutely hates school, but he wants to be a primary teacher. I'm like, okay.
What?
Okay.
No way.
Okay.
That or own a shop.
Yeah.
But he doesn't want to ever move out because he doesn't know how to cook. He is shit scared of fires. Like, it's a whole different level. It's like me and wasps. But he so when I was saying he's literal, he thinks if you get too hot, you're going to go on fire. So quite often you'll see him without his t-shirt on. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm too hot. I'm like, okay. That's him saying, I think I'm going to get too hot. I'm going to go on fire. I'm like, no, Ollie. You're not going to go on fire.
I laugh, but it's not funny, because that's a real thing.
Well, we don't know that we won't catch on fire.
Well, you know,
we might be right. Really,
I felt like it today in Scotland. It was
exactly that. No.
He's taking safety precautions. But, so I don't know, but I think he's got a career in engineering. He is so creative, and he does what he calls crafties. Lockdown was a good time for him because I was just ordering everything off Amazon. I think, you know, I should have shares. But every single box that came, I'm going to do crafties. I'm like, oh, okay. And he gets really emotionally attached to them as well. But the things he creates are amazing. You know, he created for Scott's Father's Day last year, he created a stereo for him, and he made it from this little rectangular box. He made a cassette area where the cassette can go in and out.
He knows what cassette is.
Yes.
That is so amazing.
Wow.
He's a retro child.
You taught him well, Hayley.
I did. But yeah, I'll send you photos of it. And he made little CDs for it as well, and little cassette tapes. And he's made.
Cool.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
A 94% discount for my Mac. Yeah, he's just so creative, and the things he makes, like, he just puts so much thought into the details. I'm just thinking, you've got a career in engineering, definitely.
Yeah.
And if he's going to stay with me forever, that'd be nice, because he could buy me a nice big house.
There you go.
Oh, Hayley, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a really, really insightful podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, well, you're welcome.
So, you know what? I wasn't going to join today, listeners, because I've got a bloody migraine. But as soon as I hear Hayley's voice and start talking,
I know,
it's like, okay, no, I've got to have this conversation.
It's funny, you can start a podcast in a real funk, and it's just like, oh yay, come on, let's go.
To be fair, most people would say, I'm a migraine.
Your face.
Got the Kings. It's closed.
It's 9:45. It'll be closing.
I'm going to bed.
Oh dear. Well, it's been lovely chatting to you.
It has been amazing.
No, thank you
I feel like I'm just sat in the room. I keep looking around to see you, and you're not here.
Yeah.
I know.
The first podcast I listened to you guys, I actually listened to it in the shower, and I was like, oh shit, I'm naked.
I love
and they can see me.
Claire said this before, that you listen to us while you're naked.
Yeah.
It makes me happy.
Oh, I get half an hour to myself, and I'm just like, podcast.
Nice.
But yeah.
Oh, right. Well, we will definitely get you back on again.
Yeah,
and we'll
absolutely.
talk more. In fact, if any of the listeners have got any questions that they want to particularly direct towards Hayley and ask a specific question or a general question, please let us know.
Yeah, absolutely.
TS and CS podcast. T's and C's.
What?
Because T's, there's no apostrophe. It's TS and CS podcast @gmail.com. Just as I'm beginning to remember it, you fucking questioned me. In my head, because I'm picturing it. It's TS and CS podcast.
We could be here all night with us.
Right. Love you.
Love you.